Good morning, everyone. So today is Tuesday. It's the day that we call Tuesday. And it is the date that we call the 6th. And it's the month that we call January. And the year that we call 2026. So starting the new year. Pretty exciting, huh? It is about 20 minutes to 7 a.m. I slept late this morning. I didn't get up. I slept 2 hours later than usual. I got up about 4:45. So I'm a little dungy and slow to roll because, when you're not used to, when you're used to getting up and then you get up later, you tend to feel, or I do at least, I feel a little like dungy and tired if I sleep late. It's kind of strange. So if I go to bed early, I don't feel like this. It's if I sleep later in the morning. It's weird. So here we are. It's a beautiful morning. We had 3 inches of snow last night. Our storms have been so tiny. We've been getting just little amounts of accumulation when we get one. But we got about 3 inches last night. So let me see if I can just pull the camera that way. Can you guys see out the window? The trees are covered. Anyway, they're covered and it's very pretty. Once it gets a little bit light, we're close to having it be light here because I'm so slow to roll. I'll show it to you. It's really pretty, the way the snow sticks to the trees. So I hope you're all having an amazing morning. Let's see. So I'm going to grab a sip of my chicory. Caffeine withdrawal update for anybody that is cutting caffeine back in their diet, cutting back on caffeine. I'm doing better. But I'm still getting by afternoon, I get a dull throb in my head. And I mean, I feel like I've been doing this at least a month or better, but I don't know. My body just has to get used to it. But yeah, it's getting much better. It's way better than it was. In the beginning, it was migraine level headaches from this caffeine withdrawal. It's crazy. And you don't realize when you aren't affected physically by caffeine, like a lot of us aren't. You don't realize because it's not giving you the boost of energy. It doesn't do that for you, so you don't realize how much your body is dependent on it. It's just really strange. So anyway, yeah, those were pretty bad. That was migraine level headaches. And yeah, so by afternoon now, I start to get a dull throb in my head. Because, see, I always had that afternoon coffee too. So I allow myself 1 coffee in the morning, then I switch over to chicory. And then I would always have that afternoon coffee. And I think that dull pounding in my head is saying, oh, Lori, have another coffee. Have some more caffeine. So that, I imagine, will pass too. At least I'm not having the headaches every single morning like I was. So, all right, what's going on? Well, lots is going on. Where to start? The healing intentions are set for you folks, always. So if you so choose and you want that, go ahead, stand in your power and breathe that in and decree that for your highest and greatest good only and always. And don't follow any links or emails in the comment section of the channel that solicits you for anything. That would be scammers. I haven't read all of the comments on yesterday's reading yet. I read a few. So yes, thank you all for the Happy New Year's wishes. Thank you all for the love and the blessings and the well wishes as we move into this new year, that for me and my family. And I'm wishing the same for all of you. I really hope this is an exciting, prosperous, happy, healthy new year for everyone. Just a beautiful new year for every single person. I doubt it will be, because life has challenges and we all have to deal with our challenges. So pretty much impossible for every single person to just be happy all this next new year. But in and amongst the challenges and the frustration and the irritation and the sadness of like regular life, I pray everyone finds joy and learns how to walk hand in hand with the beautiful and the amazing and the ugly and the shitty that is this world of contrast, right? Learning to just walk hand in hand with it all simultaneously with a bit of grace is, I think it's everyone's challenge. And it's not an easy one, but it's definitely working. It's definitely worth working to be able to get there, right? Okay, so goodness gracious. I think I said I haven't gotten a chance to read everybody's comments from yesterday's video. I'll go back in after this uploads at some point today and I'll read the rest. Yeah, so yesterday's video was interesting in the way that things will crumble down on the world stage, right? Because remember, that's what we're getting the reading on, the view. We got the reading on the view from the world stage, how, we might as well just say how these empires will crumble, the systems, how they're going to crumble according to the world stage, so that everybody can get on board with that, right? And understand why these systems have to come down. And the exposure will be, enough so that people start to comprehend. It's always been there, like all you had to do was dig or have some discernment. But people trust, people just trust. I was watching Little House on the Prairie, you guys. It's so funny. Last summer, I think, I was watching some Little House reruns. And there was this one particular episode where the townspeople, it was towns taxes, and all of the townspeople had quite an increase in their property taxes. And it was a huge hardship. Some people were going to have to pack up and move. They would lose their property. And it did show one family, I think it showed one family losing their property. But the adults in the town were all mad, rightfully so. And the children were learning at school how it's your duty to pay taxes and why you should feel so privileged to do so. And so the children were coming home and they were telling their parents why they should be happy to pay these taxes, why they're needed. And of course, when I was watching Little House on the Prairie when I was a kid, that just flew right over my head. But watching it all these years later as an adult, I'm like, yeah, look at that propaganda. And they're telling you that that's what they're doing. They're indoctrinating your children in school to push against you when you question the narrative, or when you question the system, or when you push back against the system. They're indoctrinating your children to push against you. And my son and I were talking about that, and he's like, yeah, just like in, just like in Germany. And so this has always happened. They've always indoctrinated the kids to push back against the parents and tell them why they've learned that the parents need to just conform. And so it's the way they've gone about doing this is just, it's crazy. So when my son was in school, the indoctrination process was, they were really working to take the power out of the family and have children think that they couldn't be disciplined by their parents, and that their parents would have these terrible consequences. And all you had to do was tell on your parents, right? Tell on your parents. It's always about telling on your parents. And it's funny because I remember explaining to him back then, the difference between good and fair and appropriate discipline and over discipline where children are being abused. And we talked about abuse and what that consisted of and why parents needed to be able to discipline their children and how children can become out of control and what that can lead to. And in spite of all of these talks, my buffering with what he was learning and explaining to him that yes, it's good if a child is being super abused for them to be able to tell somebody that will listen and help protect them. But, kids need to be disciplined. We need to have consequences. We need to be held to account. And, discipline is something that's much needed in our learning and our growth. And I explained to him, you get discipline at school. You don't get to go out to recess. If you've been bad, you don't get to participate at gym or whatever. If you haven't been acting good, you have to stay for detention. There's all sorts of things. You got to write the rules on the bus. You get kicked off the bus. Discipline is needed. And so I think he was in 5th grade. He came home and I don't know. I'd given him hell for something. I can't even remember what now because what does stick in my hand is what happened afterwards. So I had to get really real with that boy that day. So I'd given him, I had given him a good talking to, and I think I had taken something away from him, a privilege or whatever. And he then went on to tell me that all he had to do was go to school and tell them that he was being abused. And blah, blah, blah. He thought he was quite the little man that day. And I said, yeah, you can do that. I said, you could actually do that from here. So I got the phone book and I looked up the number. And I got the phone and I handed it to him. And I said, you go ahead, because you're mad, because you did something you weren't supposed to, and you just received a consequence, and you're mad, and you want to tell on your mommy for being so mean. I said, but before you do that, let me tell you what happens to children in foster care. And I laid out the ugly truth for him that day about the abuse that happens in foster care, how children go missing out of foster care, how children end up murdered and dead in foster care. These are truths I never wanted to have to tell my 5th grader. But I laid it out for him. You should have seen his little face. And I told him, once you're in the system, we'll never get you back. So you be careful about how angry you get and what you want to say just to try to get us back, because you're being indoctrinated in school. And yeah, he was sorry, Mom. Sorry, Mom, I didn't mean it. But he and I still laugh about that moment of like cold, hard truth being laid in front of him so that I could kind of really snap those strings of indoctrination that he was receiving. Because it seemed as though my buffering and explaining to him things, he was picking up on it and he was understanding it, but he really needed some cold hard truths that day. And you know, he never thought to be a brat and threaten me again because he didn't like the consequences for whatever actions. And honestly, he was a really good kid. He didn't get in trouble much. Because he was pretty easy. I was blessed. He was nothing like me or his dad. So we were really fortunate. He was a really good kid. But then again, we didn't have unrealistic boundaries for him either. And, you know, we spent a lot of time with him. So he received a lot. So he wasn't acting out trying to get attention either. So yeah, he was a pretty good kid. But it's funny what they're hearing in school and the indoctrination, what it can do. And can you guys see the trees now? Isn't that pretty? Super pretty. I love the snow. If it's going to be winter in Maine, I like it to be snowy. So yeah, that's what they've been doing. They've been teaching the kids forever to push back against the parents. And I mean, this has just been on an escalation since the beginning of deciding this was the thing they were going to do. And look at where we're at now. Look at where we're at now. So as things change, and people become aware, and and going through the deprogramming process, we're going to see some chaos. We're living in times of chaos. And you know, I've really thought deep into this. Here I am babbling. I'll get to the reading here in a minute. I've really thought deep into this, you guys, about the programming in every way. And I think of all these kids that are screaming that they're non-binary or they're you know, the opposite gender of what they were born. And it feels inauthentic, right? And so, and yeah, I mean, indoctrination and a push for that agenda and whatnot. But I've really been like meditating on it and feeling into it. And I think the inauthenticity that I'm feeling is that everybody's feeling something, right? Everybody's feeling this energy of great change. And they don't have words to express what they're feeling because there probably isn't any words. There probably aren't the correct words here on this planet for us to express most of what we're feeling with words. And I think there's a lot of just feeling this like pressurized energy of change, and nobody really knows what the hell they're feeling, and so they're seeking ways to express it. But because they don't really know what it is, or they don't have the proper words, the expression of this energy is coming out in like the most inauthentic of ways. Like, I'm a boy and I'm going to pretend I'm a girl, even though you can tell this kid's not truly, I mean, a true transgender, which is considered still a mental illness, is like 1%, right? it's like somebody who's truly gay. You just can feel it, there's an energy to these people. There's a certain energy to people, and we're all reading energy all the time. And the reason why things don't feel authentic is because this kid has been brought up in this system, and he's been fed all of this propaganda, and he feels this energy inside him. It's almost like friction, and he doesn't have the words to express it, and he desperately wants to find a way for this energy to be expressed and moved. And because he's been fed propaganda, he's thinking, oh, okay, maybe I'm a girl trapped in a boy's body, and I'm going to fight for the right to be a woman and be on the girls' sports team or whatever, And I think the truth of the matter is the energy in this chaotic great change is so frictional that everyone's feeling it, and no one knows how to truly express it. If they haven't been like working on themselves, doing their emotional healing, their mental healing, their spiritual healing, connecting in, if they haven't been on that path, they're struggling with expression. And so if we're going through a time of great change and we think things are odd already, and there's this struggle with expression, things could get a whole lot weirder, you guys, before we level out. But the reason why it feels inauthentic is because it is. We're reading energy all the time, right? And people haven't found their own authenticity yet. And that really comes through emotional healing and, mental health, and honestly, your spiritual healing. And the more you're doing these things, the more authentic you get. But when you're just a kid and you're living in a world where everybody's kind of programming you, and you haven't found you yet, and you've got all of this energy and this friction, it's almost like a rebellion, and like they're working to express all of this, right? And so if we cool our hackles down a little bit, we can look at it as, look at the punk rockers of the 80s, that those kids with the safety pins in their lips and their eyebrows and stuff, doing the crazy makeup and hair and clothing, they had this energy, and they were trying to find who they were, and they were the rebels, and it was all this energy that was looking to find expression. And that's not who they were authentically. Like, we aren't our costume, right? But there was this energy that they were dying to express, because they didn't have the words. They hadn't found themselves authentically yet. And so let's be the rebel and express all of this in a costume-like manner. And I think we're seeing that. If we can look at it sort of like that. Of course, this can be much more damaging, right? So we have to be very, we have to maintain logical minds. Like, it doesn't hurt to let your kid dress up as a punk rocker. It doesn't hurt to let your kid dress up. But taking medicines, hormones, having extreme surgeries and whatnot, that does hurt. That can do damage. And so we have to stay very logical in this. But I think it's a combination of this great change, this energy, this need to express, not knowing who they are authentically yet, and the propaganda that's been tipped on them. So things could get a lot weirder before they get better, is what I'm saying. And so we're going to have to stay very grounded, right? And the more work that we do, the more centered and grounded that can keep us. Is this making sense, you guys? So it's interesting times, and we shall see what 2026 brings about. But we're definitely going through some times of major change. And things always get to this point of like the tipping point before it spills over. And as far as these young people and even the old people, I've seen lots of 60s hippies at these protests against being logical and even keeled and center and, being centrists, which is, that's what I am. I'm not too far left. I'm not too far right. I would be that center line, because I feel when you go too far one way or the other, someone's rights get lost every single time. Someone gets treaded on every single time. It's not good. We have to stay center line, in my humble opinion, so that people don't get treaded on. We don't want to go so far right that the Christian view takes over and people who are gay or truly transgender or, spiritual or whatever doesn't align with that too far right, that all of these people's rights get treaded on, right? And we've gone so far left, we see what that looks like. We don't want to continue going further to left. We want to pull that back to center. But I've seen a lot of 60s, the 60s generation, the old hippies, protesting our logic. So yeah, lots of propaganda and things will just seem a bit crazy, and so we'll want to stay really centered. And I believe it's that people feel all this energy and they don't know how to express it. And because of that, what they've been indoctrinated with is how they're acting it out. But eventually, I believe everybody starts to feel their own inauthenticity, and that will become uncomfortable. And that's when they'll start seeking who they really are and what they're really feeling, and shedding the indoctrination, because I don't think you can live at a time with this much energy that doesn't begin to happen. And that's when we'll start to see people cooling down and coming back together, I think. I've been really doing a lot of meditation on it, and I just think we're in some really interesting times, you guys. And it is all an expression of energy that people can't quite put their finger on. And they're expressing it in a way that they've been fed propaganda about. And that will eventually start to shed. And so we all need to pray that any of these kids that have been taking hormones, and not just dressing up as a girl, but or dressing up as a boy, but any of these children that have been taking hormones and whatnot, when they start to feel the inauthenticity of what's going on within them, that too much damage hasn't been done. We just really got to keep praying. Something I've been praying on for a long time, but we've got to keep praying, because a lot of these kids are doing things, and their parents are allowing it, that goes far beyond just dressing up. I mean, yeah, costumes are one thing, but when you're taking chemicals and having surgeries, that's something else entirely. So let's just keep praying, and sending lots of love and good energy to anybody that's been I consider them victimized by the propaganda, personally. Let's just keep praying for anybody that's been victimized in that way. All right, sorry to take you down such a dark hole. Lori's ramblings this morning. Let's get on with the reading, you guys. All right, so let's take a look. Like, everybody's so upset. It's just crazy to me how everybody just wants to get upset about everything. But like I said, it's the energy, it's the friction, it's an expression of something that they can't quite put their finger on. And like we got yesterday, people are in fear or they're angry. And so, you know, we're seeing reactions instead of actions. We're seeing weird expressions. We're just seeing some interesting times. So let's take a look at this morning. Because we know everything, all of us anyways, or at least me, probably most of you, if not all of you that are tuning in, understand that the world is a stage. We understand that what you're seeing on the world stage isn't actually what's happening on the world stage. We're being presented with things that have happened in the background. We're going through D-class. And it's so that we could bring knowledge and truth and facts and information to people slowly over time so that they can integrate the truth which had been hidden from them in darkness into them in such a way that they won't just fall apart. If you've been indoctrinated over so many years, the deprogramming has to be done in a particular way, or the mind can shatter. It's just true. The mind can shatter. So we're seeing D-class. And I'm not saying that things aren't still probably happening, because I believe we still have things that are happening. But what we're being told and shown is D-class. So we have to keep in mind that in all of our readings, we always get this stuff has happened in the background, right? And now we're being shown. So there's going to be a lot that comes out, I believe, with this whole Maduro thing around the Smartmatic machines and the voting fraud. And in my state, we're back to voting fraud again, because they're exposing, when Homeland Security went into Lewiston, into this building where there were layers of schemes set up, fraud. One of the things that has been exposed is that is where they were registering immigrants for votes. And so, you know, that vote keeps coming back in, keeps cycling back in, right? So let's take a look at, how was I going to word that? Let me get more chicory. When I sleep late, my head's fuzzy and I forget what I wanted to say. So we're talking about, the stuff with Maduro and the Smartmatic machines and the voter fraud. Now, from my perspective, and probably many of yours, the voter fraud, all of the evidence for that, everything, in my humble opinion, has been taken care of. That's all background. But you had to get people ready to hear that there was some voter fraud. And I've thought that, I've always believed that they cheat to get in and people are placed, and the bad guy always, I was so black-pilled, the bad guy always gets in, the good guy will never win, blah, 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 blah. That was me. I was very black-pilled, and it was all true. I mean, but nobody believed me when I said that. Very few people would have those conversations with me. And so in 2020, when that election was, like, again, blatantly stolen in front of everybody, because in 2000, that election was a blatant steal too. But I digress. So, but nobody wanted to hear that baby Bush stole the election back when I was saying this is like a stolen election. And they did it right in front of everybody to see if anybody would do anything. And no one gives a shit. You know, the world wasn't ready. The brainwashing, the dumbing down, I don't know what it is. The world wasn't ready. Only some of us bitched about that. And then by 2020, a lot of people recognized it for what it was because there'd been enough talk. A lot of people were recognizing it. So the people that were voting for Trump were like, oh, this is a stolen election. Okay, so their crowns woke up. But the people that didn't vote for him were like, no, this was not a stolen election. And so those people still need to be brought into an awareness of the fraud that takes place in our voting systems. So they've had 5 years now to have voter fraud plugged into their brain, whether they're adopting it or rebelling it or not. And the topic keeps getting recycled, right? Recycled. So a seed's planted, let that sit in the background, covered in dirt, let it sprout, and then it will come back into the conversation again, another seed, another seed, another seed. And that's kind of how we're cultivating people's minds into accepting that we've all been manipulated and screwed over, and our votes have been manipulated, and it's not an authentic system, and we're back at it again. And I think that this Maduro stuff is really going to lead to more of this. So what I want to know is, and we have to keep having more of it come out, more of it come out. These waves, I think, are very helpful. Like I said, seeds planted, information out there, cycling it, pulling it back, recycling it. It's how it has to happen for people to naturally start picking up on it. So let's see what in one word, with one card, you guys. I just want to see if the Maduro, I mean, it's all under the guise, the popcorn phase of drugs, which are a major problem, should impact everybody. But the people that have been programmed way far left are just mad. They're just mad. So it doesn't matter. I don't think it matters the narrative that is brought forth by Trump. Some people are just going to hate. They're going to hate anything he says. We talked about that yesterday. But I believe there's going to be a lot of talk about the election fraud and information through this whole piece of things with Maduro. And I just want to know if I'm right in that. Is this going to bring up some really good evidence? Because I believe there are multi-layers to everything, right? And so with Maduro, it's not just cartels running a country. It's not just drug trafficking. It's not just tyranny. It's not just socialism. It's not just an exposure of what has happened in Venezuela. It's going to be why it happened in Venezuela. And it's because of those Smartmatic machines. And then the playbook that they used around that as well to have Venezuela fall. And then you'll see how that was what they were going to do here, why these Smartmatic machines aren't trustworthy, why we need to go back to the old-fashioned way of voting. It's all going to cycle back to how Venezuela fell, which is rigged elections, I believe. And I just want to know if that's the truth. Am I assuming this correctly? Please and thank you. With one card, can you give me a yes or a no? One more shuffle and we're going to cut them. I made a really messy shuffle on that one. So I'm going to shuffle them twice. One more shuffle because that's a mess. That was a mess. I don't think I did a very good job. Didn't feel right. All right, let's get them cut with one card, please, and thank you. Yeah, the Lovers. So my assumption is right. So this is multi-layered, you guys, and this is going to be a major exposure of terrible, terrible tyranny and the drug cartels and how Venezuela fell and the rigged elections and then how that was being used here as well. So this is multi-layered, and it is going to come back to the falling of Venezuela to rigged elections, which allowed the tyranny and the destruction of that country, and how they were planning to do that here. So the Lovers would be my guess, and the secondary message in that, it's going to show how people got bitten and poisoned because of these Smartmatic machines, right? We were all bitten. Our countries were poisoned because of these Smartmatic machines. And, we were all caught up in something. So, we were all caught up in our daily activities and our daily lives that we just weren't paying attention, and we were bitten. And we were bitten big time because this is a major arcana card. So it's not just us that was bitten. It's not just Venezuela that's been bitten. It's not just America that's been bitten, right? This is big picture. This is big picture stuff. And the good news is that we have the six hovering us saying we're going to birth something new, because all of those things that were allowed to come into play and grow power, so that while we were not paying attention, that were allowed to bite us and poison us, are going to go away, and we're going to birth something new. Right? So you think about that. You could say we'll go back to our old way of doing the votings, right? Hold on. I'm yawning, you guys. But I don't think we'll go back to exactly the way it was in the old days either, because the paper ballots and stuff like that, yes, and the polls opening and closing at a particular time. And of course, there's still going to have to be mail-in ballots because unless they change that somehow, but we have soldiers deployed, things like that. We have people that live in Florida in the winter that go down in the fall, that live here full time. So there's got to be some concessions. I think that they will figure it out, but it's definitely going to be, I don't think it's all just going to be the way it was. I think there's going to have to be some more safety nets and safeguards and a really well thought out plan, right? So I don't know. Let's get a look at we also have bigger populations. But the sad thing is less people go out to vote. So I don't know, probably wouldn't be a problem. People need to start voting again. When Michael was young and I would go to vote here in my town, cars would be parked up and down the road, and we'd have a long wait. You'd walk into the building and we'd all be talking with all the neighbors and everybody that we knew. And it was a long process. And now my town actually has more people in it. And you can just go in and vote. Like, there's hardly any traffic. Maybe 5 or 6 people in there at a time. It's really sad. It's really, really sad. I went to vote on budgets this fall, and we supposedly have 1,400 or 1,500 people in this town, which is way more than when I was a teenager, right? And I realize some of them are kids and can't vote, but hardly anybody shows up. Like, we have probably double the amount of people in this town now that we had in the 90s. And in the 90s, like I said, it was a full house. And now you just walk in and you do it because no one's there. You might see 4 or 5 people. It's really upsetting. I think the last vote time we voted, we only had a little more than 100 voter turnout. Very sad. Very sad. So, and then, you don't show up, and then they can use your name and your ballot for voter fraud. Talk about making it easy for people, right? Talk about making it easy for people to steal your elections by just not showing up. That's one way that we, the people, make it easy for them to do it, to not show up. It's crazy. Anyway, let's take a look at what the new voting system's going to look like, and then I'm going to get off. I've just been babbling to you. My head's tired. I probably shouldn't have even bothered coming on today. But let's take a look at what we're going to expect here, what we can expect as we move forward. With that voting system. Let me back you up. Push that upward. All right, so what we're going to be seeing with our new voting system here, you guys. We have the 8 of Cups right up here at the very top. This is the Deviant Moon deck again today, you guys. It's just fit the energy. It's just been, it feels right. So this is the Deviant Moon deck, and this is your Eight of Cups, and people are starting to wake up to this. But in regards to how this question was asked, like, what are we going to be looking at when, as far as this voter system as we move forward? Well, all of this stuff that people have refused to believe because it didn't feel good to them, that's been evident over the years, for some of us a long time, but really, really evident since 2020, right? It's been evident since Baby Bush. Like, a blind man could see it, but apparently many were blind. But then it got even more evident, right? So all this stuff that people have been refusing to see for a long time, the stuff in the background that they're doing that's shady. See, with these cups aren't all, they're not being used as they should be, okay? So the cups that are tipped, that are all back here in the background, aren't being used as they should be. You wouldn't use cups that are upside down, right? You don't use your cup upside down. It has to be upright. It does have to be upright for you to use it and drink out of it. And these cups in the background they're not all being used right. So what we're going to see is the misuse of people in the background. So unfortunately, you guys, even in our small little towns, we may be finding a misuse of our votes and our voting machines and our registrations and all of those things when it comes to voters, a misuse. So, you know, you live in a little tiny town like mine, and you go down, you know everybody at your town office, and everybody's all nice and friendly with one another, right? And then you're going to find out there's a misuse. We're going to be finding out there's a misuse of how our votes are being handled, even in our small towns. Like, it's not going to feel good. It's not going to feel good. To people in the bigger cities, it's not going to feel so personal. It's going to not feel good, but it won't feel as personal, you guys, as it will to the people in the smaller towns who have a rapport or relationship and friendships with some of these people that have been deliberately screwing with our votes. So, you know, it's going to be a time of not feeling good, but it's going to bring a lot of people awake to see what happens here. And, you know, it's going to ignite people's intuition. So people are going to probably have moments where they're like, oh, you know what? I felt something was wrong. Or, oh, I kind of felt like that person in the town office was shady. Or, you know, it's going to ignite some intuition where they're going to remember feeling a particular way. And then they're going to go, oh, and turns out I was right. I ignored it, but I was right. And that's how people start trusting their intuition. Because then they're shown that their intuition was correct, and then they start trusting it. So that helps with the crown waking up too. So we're gonna see. We're not gonna like it. It's not gonna feel good. Probably in the smaller towns, it's gonna feel very personal. But we're going to see a misuse of the way the votes were done. And like I was just saying, I gave a good example of how nobody shows up to vote anymore in my area, and that leaves all of those registered voters that didn't show up, ballots, the ability to use them to put them into the system here and there, and you know, later on however they want. So we're going to see the misuse all the way down. And then you're going to see how people worked together, you know, really shadily worked together to do this. You're going to see it. It's all going to be shown all the way down on the tiniest of levels, how they all work together. Some people got paid to do it. So maybe in your area, somebody, I'm just giving an example. Maybe in your area, somebody that works at the town office is a single mother with a deadbeat dad, and they're struggling for money, and they're offered X amount of dollars to do some sort of shady thing, right? And they're like, what can it hurt? I need the money so bad. And so they compromise themselves. But it can hurt. It's not good. So it looks to me as though there's already, the eye is there. They know who's taken money. They know who's been paid. They know who's paying who to do what. But this is all going to play out for we, the public, so that you can see. So I don't know how far back they're going to go with the little guy that participated in this, but I imagine they're going to be exposing things probably maybe within the last at least 2-3 election cycles. We'll see. But you're going to see the little guy exposed. You are. You're going to see the smaller levels of people that did this. All right. So we're going to come down here. And so I've said, yeah, you're going to see how things were misused. You're going to see how people worked together. You're going to see how people got paid. And you're going to see the leader of the pack, okay? So you're definitely going to see the bigger guys, the guys in power, the guys of more power with this King of Wands. So you're gonna see how these guys are involved, but you're going to see the little people. And how unsafe the whole system can be as of right now and how things are being done and run. So very interesting. You're gonna get all the exposure. You're gonna find when we come down from here, you're gonna find how people worked together to get your ballots moved. So I think this is like moving. So I think that would be the drop off of pristine ballots, the drop off of ballots that had been filled out to be put through the system. This is the system, right? Because it's the swords. So I'm losing my words. I need more chicory. It's because of the swords are technology. There we go. Thank you. So you're gonna see the individuals, and you're gonna see the system. You're gonna see the little guy, and you're gonna see the big guys all exposed in this. And so yeah, you're gonna see how things were moved in a particular way. Wow, I can't wait. I just can't wait for all of it to come out. Because it's exciting to me. The D class is always exciting. All right. So then we come over and we have that Page of Cups. So you're going to see, oh my word, that stove is beeping. I'm not going to be able to handle it. It's going to drive me nuts. Hold on, you guys. I'm going to pause you. I just threw one scoop in it to shut it up until I'm done, because we're almost done here. All right, so yeah, all the little guys, the big guys, the bigger guys that have all their cronies around them will be exposed. You're going to see how they've moved things around, manipulated the technology. And you're also going to see with this Page of Cups, the fresh energy that came into the voting systems. So that would be, I think, the registration of people that don't even live here. With that Page of Cups, right? All the fresh people voting that don't even live here. So you're going to see an awful lot. And so we end this with the Two of Swords, you guys. And the Two of Swords, that's the dark fighting the light, right? So when you're looking at this reading and you come down, like, you're going to see how things were misused. You're going to see the little guys, how they took money, just ordinary people took money, how so many people were in on it. And, you know, the bigger guys and their cronies, how they used this technology and manipulated it, and how they moved things too. Keep that in mind, how they moved things. In the night, across, you know, like your airways, in the night, across the airways, but also think of this as a moving vessel for, like, vehicles and mail bags, and you're gonna find out a lot about how they've moved things. And with the Page of Swords right there, used the fresh energy, probably the immigrants, and then used their names in the system, with the technology, so registered them, right? And yeah, this has really been a battle, the dark and the light, and here we come down to the very end where it's all going to be exposed. So you're going to see a lot. You're probably going to be disappointed with some of the people. If you live in a small town, you'll be disappointed with some of the people in your town. Probably because it's showing the little guy taking money, taking bribes, being involved, working together. And they're doing it because of the big guy and their cronies, right? So the cronies would have solicited regular people, and the big guy is having the cronies solicit people. So it's all in tiers, all the way down to just your normal, ordinary, day-to-day people. You know, could be even the person that volunteers at your town office to register people and you know, pass out ballots and meet and greet you and check you off as voted. It's gonna get be quite revealing, very revealing, but it will bring some balance back into the system, because it'll be a tighter ship. It'll be a tighter ship. It's going to have to be. If you're exposing everybody, if there's people right down to your ordinary folk, you know, your volunteers, not just you know what I'm saying? And this is all exposed, it's going to create a much tighter ship. So I think that tighter ship is going to involve all of us, you guys, because more of us are going to say, okay, we want to go down and we want to volunteer our time, and we want to sit and bear witness and watch people come through and watch the votes be tallied. And, you know, maybe you'll have actual people from both parties coming in to make sure that things are accurate and done right. I don't see a lot of us people volunteering for these things anymore. Like, they've created a way of life where everybody's run ragged and exhausted, and they feel like they can't do that one more thing. And so you don't have the amount of volunteers that are out there actively participating. So I think it's going to encourage a lot more of us to get, you know, involved. So am I right, as we see that maybe that lady at the town office that you like so much has been putting the screws to us on voting days? It might inspire some people to give of their time a little bit more, be more involved. When I was growing up, my parents' generation was very involved. And, you know, people aren't that involved anymore. So times have changed a lot. So will all of this inspire people? There's going to be a lot of exposure apparently. Will all of this inspire people to volunteer their time and their services to when it comes to important issues like this, like voting? Will all of this information inspire people to be more involved? Please and thank you. Yeah. With everything that we're going to learn, right down to your local level, like your little town, it's going to inspire people to be more involved because we're going to want justice, and we're going to want to make sure that justice prevails, right? So we're going to want to sit and watch those votes be tabulated, and we're going to want to get rid of all of these loose ends that they've been able to use against us, that bit us as we move forward for voting. So yeah, we're gonna want justice, and we're gonna be inspired to volunteer our time and be more involved in this process, so that we can make sure that justice prevails. So, get yourself ready for it. I've gotten myself ready for it for years. I mean, I interact with all the people at my town office, and they're all nice enough or whatever. But there was one person down there years ago, because I'm not going to say too much in case anybody from my town is watching, because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, their family or whatever. But what I will say is, I knew that person was crooked. I mean, I knew it in the depths of my soul, right? I just knew it. And that was a long ass time ago. He's since passed on, but yeah. I look at them all and I always think, yeah, they're all nice and everything's nice, but any one of them could be putting screws to us. Deliberately, knowingly. I mean, what goes on in the town office is putting screws to us because of our taxes, our having to buy property taxes and stuff. But those who think they're doing the right thing and think it's all lawful, that's something different. But I'm talking people that deliberately know. So anyway, I guess before I get off, I'll pull us one last card. So anyway, that's what I'm getting. We're all going to be a little disappointed, but I'm ready for it because I've known anyway, I've known anyway. Maybe I'll find out that my town office is the only one in this state that's doesn't hold some form of corruption. I doubt it. Seriously doubt it. Although that would make me happy if that's how it was, if all the corruption has been swept out of there, but I don't think that's the case. All right, so with the information that we've been given about how we're going to see all sorts of different misuses and ways that they've gone about the business of screwing us over, and how we are going to get more involved as time moves, because we're going to want justice, and we're going to want to make sure that justice prevails. With that information that we've been given, can you just leave us off with one card? Advice, clarity, just insight, anything you want. Please and thank you. Boy, am I dungy. One more. Leave us with one card, please, and thank you. What do you want to leave us with? Temperance, Higher Arcana card, and that's transforming. And so we've been talking about the votes and the voting system and whatnot. And Temperance takes something that was and she turns it into something that's better. And so we're being left off today with Temperance, taking something that was and transforming it into something better. And this is big picture. So I believe that's where we're at right now in the larger scheme of things. We're going through a time of great change, as we've been told, and we're going to take these old things that are much smaller, didn't necessarily work, and we're going to take them and we're going to turn them into something much better. We're going to transform it. And we're going to transform it in a way that's much more high vibrational. Why? Because Temperance has wings, right? So she's a higher dimensional being. But she has a foot in the water and a foot on the ground. And, so she walks between the worlds. So things will be higher frequency. Better. Much better. All right, you guys. Well, that's what I got anyways. You had to listen to me run my mouth. Sorry about that. Very dungy this morning, so I don't even know if I made sense or was able to articulate anything very well. I hope I was able to. I hope that you get some sort of value out of this, and you can just fast forward probably the first 20 minutes. You can just keep putting your finger on the fast forward until you get to where I'm actually doing the reading. All right, you guys, I love you. Have a beautiful day. Take what you want from this and toss the rest. And until next time, I will see you. All right, bye.